Well, not necessarily beef. For me, like I said, the gang culture came about, and once it hit us in 73, summer 73 and 74, my big homies, which is the first generation, is what planted our seeds in our neighborhood as far as putting that tag and that stamp and that name on us. And so that's what drew my admiration and my attention, watching them. And when I say them, I mean cats like, of course, my big homie Ray Boyce, rest in peace, the Thorntons, all the Thorntons, all the Barker boys, you know what I'm saying, me, Big Light Bub, BountyHunter Spud, rest in peace, you know what I mean, Pistol Pete, rest in peace, the list goes on. It was so many of my big homies that inspired me. So watching them and then growing up, living next door to individuals who was real bounty hunters at the time in the early 70s, 73, 74, 75, which was my big homies, I was getting schooled all the way around the board. So I was going to school, getting my academic education on that level, and then I would come home and go outside. And now, as a kid growing up, now I'm from an adolescent to a teen, and I'm going into my teenage years. I'm starting to think on an adult level because I've always ahead myself. I didn't hang around 15 and 14-year-old kids. I would hang around 19-year-old, 20, 17, 18-year-old individuals was older than me. So therefore, I learned. I picked up on certain shit. And so by me being really, really headstrong as far as my education, that gave me strength in the streets as well, because a lot of my peers, my homies couldn't read and write. They was dropout. They dropped out in sixth grade, fifth grade. Never went back to school, none of that. So, but they was hustlers. Niggas was gangsters and hustlers, killers and hitters, but they wasn't educated. They was dumbfounded. So that gave me leverage. And when I seen it, I knew that I always stayed on myself as far as my education, even when my parents was instilling it to me. So I always went to school and educated myself because I knew that was my power. And I knew that I would be able to utilize that power for the rest of my life because this is what was instilled in me from my father. So going on down the line, moving along in summer 76, 77 and 76 is when I really said, okay, damn, I'm finna get down. I want to be a hunter. I want to be a bounty hunter. But I still want to go to the NFL and the MLB. I want to be able to represent my hood and come back and move my family out the projects. But shit, I want to do this too. So I started living a double life. Come 76 or 77, I jumped in. I'm off the porch. Feel me? But I wasn't all the way head in yet until this particular incident occurred. 78, 79 is what put me head in. And that's when I went to YA. And from there, once I lost my parents, it was a wrap. I told him, give me the suit. I threw the red suit on myself, put the whole red suit on, told the devil, I got you. I'm gone. I'm finna rule this shit. And I became who I became, BountyHunter BJ. Somebody that was very massive, volatile, dangerous, fearful. You know what I mean? I was relentless. And I don't say any of these things to brag or boast. I'm giving you facts of what my life was then. I'm not that same person today. That's who I was then. I gave 29 to 30 year active duty years of my life to these funky ass streets, bro. Would I do it again if I had to do it all over again? Fuck no. Hell to the no. I wouldn't give a dime, a second of my breath to these punk ass streets, man. But I did that then. I did that, and I did it swell. And I'm still here today, based on my blessings of God, Allah Himself, nothing else. It wasn't me that's got me here today. It wasn't because I was Superman. I'd have been shot up, homie, 3 different occasions, 44, feel me, AK assault rifle. I'd have been stabbed up on 3 different occasions, penitentiary, you know what I mean? I've been through it, bro, Rat Pack.
What was like the first game you ever heard of?
The first game?
Like was it the
Crips, and Pirus. Actually, Crips, Brims, Pirus was the first actual gangs that we have heard of as far as when it came down to our generation. I'm from second generation, from after my first generation, which was the early 70s. But we knew the gangs existed in 73 and 74. But in 1973 and 74, my awareness of the first gangs that I have heard of was the Crips, because that's where it all started. And so from the Crips, then we had heard the Brims. And this is like 73, 74 when I got wind of it. You know what I mean? And at this time, this is when it's trickling down to the east side. And on the east side, where it trickled down toward us, toward Watts. And then at that time, you got the Jordan Downs, but we were all one big community. Like I said, we could surface from each project to project. So the Jordan Downs could come to Nickerson go to the Jordan Downs or the PJs, the Hyannis, because we were all one conglomerate, one W. It was one W, Watts, the community of Watts, period. And so we had the pig meats and the green jackets then, which was our big homies, and the green jackets was some of a little bit of everything, and the pig meats was primarily from the Jordan Downs, but it was a structure, you know what I mean? And so with that, the gangs came in, and that brought in the separation as far as our community itself of Watts. So, yeah, my introduction, I would say, was 73 and 74 when my first hearing of the gangs was the Crips, and then the Brims, Pirus. And the Pirus was established in that aspect in the early 70s, but that's when I had heard of it. Because I got wind. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say so. I was doing like research before I interviewed you. I seen that the Nickerson Gardens is the largest housing project in Watts, and it's basically primarily the bounty hunters' territory. Like that's the main gang over there. So when you was growing up, was there any other gangs over there before bounty hunters became the predominant people over there, or like was it any Crips and Bloods over there, or Pirus and all that before that, or not?
You talking about in the Nickerson Garden itself?
Yeah, like
we had homies that grew up in the project, like that went on to move out to Compton and different areas who became Pirus, like the homie the Chisholms. Them was our homies. The Chisholms was originated after Nickerson Garden. Feel me? That's why they got mad squabbles. That's why Rock Chisholm and Greg Chisholm, all them niggas could squabble, because they come up out the Nickerson Garden, the projects first, and move to Compton. A few of my homies that moved to Compton, but they was from the Nickerson, you know what I mean? And but for us it being any other structure, any other gang in the Nickerson before it was bounty hunters now. Like I said, it was the Green Jackets, but that was, you know, it wasn't an actual gang. It was just a clique. You know, it wasn't a gang. Like they were gang banging and going out destroying shit, you know, or genociding. It was a clique, just like you had the pig meats and, you know, the Slauson boys, you know, the Slauson boys on the west side, and, you know, had different cliques back then who were cliques who come up, well, they was considered as gangs in Los Angeles. You can say they called them gang. You know, because anytime you got over 5 individuals, they want to tag our shit. They want to call it a gang, but they were cliques to us. But the actual gang theory didn't set in until the early 70s. Like I said, 73, 74, it was when it started flourishing, and it ran from there.